everybody, it's Chef Andrea, and I'm back with another Cookbook Corner. So Cookbook Corner, I've been running these guys for about 10 months or so, and they're on the YouTube channel. For those of you who are my Gumroad subscribers who have been hanging out with me during this podcasting experiment in this last year, I've been loading up for you guys Q&A with Chef A, which my YouTubers can see also, but the Q&A and Chef A has been exclusively what I've loaded onto Gumroad. And I was talking to one of my Gumroad subscribers the other day, and they said they'd never seen a Cookbook Corner, and in part because they just go to their subscription app and get all of their information there, and it never occurred to them to pop into the YouTube channel to see if there was other stuff. So for my Gumroad subscribers this month, which is the month of August for 2022, I am going to load up a Cookbook Corner for you instead of Q&A with Chef A. And if you have any Q&A themes that you want me to cover, any topics, all you need to do is post in the comments below or email me through the website at achefs.com. But we've covered a lot of material in the Q&A with Chef A's, and so I'm just going to give you guys a break and give us a break and focus on some cookbook corners for a while, where I get to review cookbooks. Some of them are cookbooks you would want to cook out of. You might want them in your collection, like the one we're going to do today. Some of them are just cookbooks from my collection that are kind of hilarious, vintage, really old, like the Mrs. Beaton's, 1800s, 1700s, I think we figured out. So variations on them, but today's cookbook it is a fun one that I think you'd actually want to have in your collection. And I'll also let my Gumroad subscribers know that your PDF downloads this month will be spin off of this cookbook. When I do Cookbook Corner, obviously, I do not provide recipes from that cookbook. You'll have to purchase that cookbook yourself. But the cookbooks can inspire me to create themes for my classes, and then I write my own recipes. And so for Gumroad subscribers, you will in fact get recipes that were inspired by this book. So let's talk about it. The book we're going to do today is Power Plates. And so there's the cover. This is a nice hardback book, nice size, Power Plates. I love it when it says really clearly on the side what it is. So when it's on my bookshelf, I know what's happening. Gena Hamshaw, Gena, Gena Hamshaw is the author. And this book, Power Plates, came to me at a pretty pinnacle time. So I bought this book in Asheville, North Carolina. I was up there visiting my mom, and a friend of ours, Paula, was with us, and we went to Malaprop's bookshop, which anybody who knows downtown Asheville knows the amazing Malaprop's. And I bought this book there, and I was at the time focusing on changing up the way that I was eating. And I know that can be a snooze of a topic to some degree, because you're like, thanks, but I don't really want to hear about diets right now. Which I wouldn't blame you. But I was actually intentionally making some really big shifts, literally in the way that I was eating, what was going into my mouth 2 to 4 times a day, depending on how often you eat, all week long. What did that amount to in the end of the week in the way of nutrients, vitamins, fiber, etc.? So I'll talk about that a little bit if you'd like to at the end of this recording. Maybe I'll do a little separate one that just says a little diet info from Chef A, kind of where my head is with some things. I'm happy to share. But what I loved about Power Plates, first and foremost, look at the cover of this book. So already it's gorgeous, right? I mean, just that beautiful bowl just looks healthy and nourishing, and like so much texture. You can just see it just being incredibly satisfying. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at. And then on the back is another beautiful photo. Do you love these shallow pottery bowls? I really do. I want to get pottery plates that have like a 1/2-inch rim on them. Have you seen those? I think those are so cool. So here's the story about this book. 100 nutritionally balanced, one dish, vegan meals. Don't run away. What I'll say about buying vegan and vegetarian cookbooks for those who are not vegan or vegetarian, hey, don't be frightened of these, because all you need do to make whatever's happening here not vegan or vegetarian, if that's your choice, is add animal protein or dairy. That's it. So throw on some grilled chicken and some crumbled feta, and this is now no longer vegan or vegetarian. It's just that simple. So don't let a vegan or vegetarian theme scare you away from a book if you are not going down that road and feel like it's somehow going to be really limiting, right? Because that's not the case at all. In fact, what I've discovered about adding vegan and vegetarian cookbooks to my collection, I am not a vegan nor a vegetarian, is that actually what it does, it doesn't limit me, it broadens me. It reminds me about protein sources that are not animal-based. It reminds me about vitamin and nutrient sources that come from plant-based foods and how delicious and wonderful those can be. And I think that we all are victim to slipping, right? We have this plan to throw sweet potatoes and kale into everything we're going to eat, and then 2 weeks go by, they end up in the compost heap or in the trash because we never got to them. We were going with convenient foods instead. These types of books have a tendency to remind me to ground myself and get back towards some of that more nutritious plant-based eating. So let's take a look at some of the things in this book that really jazzed me up right away. First of all, in Cookbook Corner, I've shared with you guys several times before that if an author of a cookbook gives you some information in the front of the book, sometimes it will say how to use this book or tips on measurements in this book or things like that. Take a minute and read that page or two. I told you that in the Nick Malgieri baking book, Cookbook Corner. So like especially when it's baking related, because that's where the baker who wrote those recipes should potentially be telling you things like, when I scoop flour, I pack it in really hard and level it off. Or the opposite. When I scoop flour, I sift it in and then don't level it off, right? That can make a big difference in the final result of a recipe. So take a minute to read, how it works or kind of their thoughts behind it. And I thank you, cookbook authors, who take the time to do that. That's extra work, extra writing. And as a reader and a user of the book, I find it incredibly helpful. So, I'm going to call her Gena because clearly we're friends now. Gena has done that. She has a section called Using This Book. So how cool is that? Here's how to use it. Here's some thoughts about it. She gives you an alphabetical listing of like some ideas about batch cooking, tips on cooking grains, and then a short little recipe next to each one. So brown rice, how does she cook it? Bulgur wheat, how does she cook it? Farro, how does she cook it? I'm going to tell you why it's important that these cooking techniques are right here in the front of this particular book. We're going to talk about building power plates and power bowls at home. So she has tips on cooking beans and cooking lentils and cooking tempeh and tofu. But right as you're getting into all of that sort of really deep information, kind of absorbing what's going to be involved in stocking yourself up and getting ready to build some of these incredible power plates of hers, she slams you with this gorgeous photo. Now, this is avocado toast taken to the next level, and I promise you, if this is what you are serving for breakfast, I want to be at your house. Look at that. So grilled whole grain bread or toasted whole grain bread, smashed avocado, fresh. Look at those summer ripe, vine ripe tomatoes. And then she's got some of her grilled seasoned tofu, thin sliced across for another protein source. That is absolutely gorgeous. So as soon as I cracked this book open, I was already interested in the concept of the power plate. The bowl on the cover was beautiful. Then I see that she's taken her time to give us some really important tips right in the very beginning of the book. And then I see that photo. That was probably it. I just bought it at that point, took it home and started reading. Gena has done some really interesting things in here. One is that she gives us a macronutrient building block. Let's talk about power plates or power bowls for a minute, and then we'll go back to this gorgeous book. In my world, the concept of the power plate or the power bowl is that we have something that anchors it. So some sort of grain or bean, potato, something that's going to anchor it out. And then we start topping it on with other nutritious ingredients, sauteed kale, roasted sweet potatoes, pumpkin seeds, right? So we build. And each layer that we build is bringing in calories. It's bringing in nutrition. It's bringing in vitamins, supplements. It's bringing in flavor, it's bringing in texture. So we build, right? That's the sort of concept behind building these, which means that by their nature, they are ingredient specific, broken down, right? One layer is starches. One layer is whole grains. One layer is leafy greens. One layer are carbohydrate-based vegetables, right? So it's breaking it down already to these sort of specifics. One layer are, in this case, vegetarian proteins. Another good source for vegetarian protein and iron, certain supplements, are things like nuts, right? So one layer is that, and that brings texture. But see, it's also so ingredient specific. That's what macronutrients are. So macronutrients are, where's your carbohydrate, where's your protein, where's your fat, right? And what is the balance that you're going to bring in with each of those? And these sorts of recipes, building a power bowl or building a power plate, naturally are set up in a way that they allow you to build it based on your macronutrient goals for any given day. So let's say that you are trying to maintain a 40-40-20. You want 40% carbohydrate, 40% protein, and 20% fat in every bite that you're taking, right? That's tricky to do when you're like whipping up a pasta with a sauce, right? Where are the micronutrients or macronutrients within that? When you're doing a power plate or a power bowl, you can see the individual ingredients. Grilled chicken is protein. Grilled tofu is protein. Lentils are the protein. Carbohydrates are sitting over here with my sweet potatoes or my baked potatoes. You see how just as the ingredients lined up in front of you tell you your macronutrients, and now you can build. Avocados are my fat. Olive oil is my fat. Nuts are my fat. So your macronutrient build becomes really simple in this type of recipe cooking. So here's her macronutrient building blocks pages, and I won't get too up close with that because you can just buy your own book and have the chart, but I love that she helps you break that down. And she gives you some combinations to think about. So lentils, avocado, and quinoa. What is that combo? It's exactly what I just mentioned. Lentils are a amazingly high protein source. So there's your protein. Avocado is your fat. Quinoa, there's your starch. And it's a really nice starch because it's a complex carbohydrate. So it's a very balanced carbohydrate. So she's given you some tips on how to pull those together. Have you ever tried to just wing a power bowl at home, by the way? I have, like without a real plan. And I don't know that I had great results with that. I mean, it turned into kind of curried brown rice with mush topping. So I think one thing about this type of food is that having a guideline, having somebody who's built a few and has the salad dressing ready for you and the tips on how to get the toppings and ingredients put together, I think it's actually pretty helpful. Once you got going on this, you'd probably memorize a few for yourself and then just have some basics that you just kind of pop into again and again. But it's nice to have the building blocks laid out for you, and that's exactly what she calls them. So I love that part of it. Now let's get into some photographs that just make my heart sing, and I hope will do the same for you. Because in the end, if you're going to sell me a vegan cookbook, boy, it's got to look delicious, right? Check this out. These are, what a cool idea this is. This is breakfast sweet potatoes. Breakfast sweet potatoes. I love, one of my favorite things is to eat non-breakfast items at breakfast. And I think most of us would put sweet potato in the kind of non-breakfast world for us. We see sweet potato fries, maybe just a roasted sweet potato, but they're so sweet and so creamy. What a really nice way to start your day. And then to top it off with some granola and some dried fruit. I just think that's such a cool concept. So conceptually, the idea of the breakfast sweet potato, I think is so much fun. What a neat out of the box kind of thought there. And of course that photograph is gorgeous and makes us all want to eat that for breakfast tomorrow. I get excited about foods that are good for me when the foods also look remarkably beautiful. And I think, look at this. Have you ever done a cold rice salad? We offer a cold rice salad as one of the recipes in our turkey primer handout because everybody has leftover rice pilaf or wild rice at the holidays. And I love making a wild rice salad out of it. So here's her version with wild rice, fresh corn, cherry tomatoes that have been just charred, green beans, and it's on a big bed of mixed mesclun greens. Isn't that beautiful? You know, when I see that, then suddenly diet doesn't sound like such a dirty word, and it starts to sound like a really exciting concept that I can have a diet that includes that beautiful plate for dinner or lunch. Isn't that beautiful? So that's gorgeous. Let's look at another beautiful one here. This is cool. This is her masala lentil salad with cumin roasted carrots. And I am a sucker for anything curry, anything Indian based. I just love those spices. And if you're not sure where you stand, don't forget to check out our YouTube video, The Great Curry Debate. I'll break it down for you a little bit about why some of us can get a little stuck on the concept of not loving curry or being afraid of curry if we've never even tried it. But I'm a big fan. And lentils are just one of my favorite foods on the planet. But look at that beautiful bowl. And so those are cumin roast carrots. And then her masala bowl. Absolutely beautiful. The photographs in this book, I don't know. I mean, if you were like, look, I don't know if I'm ever going to make anything. Do I just want to peruse it? You do. I mean, it could just be beautiful to have on the coffee table, and you can make everybody who comes over think you're super healthy, even if you're not eating any of it. Don't worry. I don't judge. Check this out. This is her Asian chopped salad with warm tofu. Oh, sorry. I'm going to give you guys motion sickness. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I want to make that for dinner tonight. Maybe I will. Absolutely gorgeous. So every once in a while at home, I'm tempted to just snap a picture of my dinner and put it on the internet. And I'm like, Andrea, just go eat your dinner. Nobody needs to see that. But when I make a really beautiful, healthy salad, I want to photograph it. You know why? Because it's beautiful. Healthy food, I'm just going to say this, really healthy foods are gorgeous. They can't help themselves. They're absolutely beautiful. This is a millet pilaf bowl. So she's used millet as the pilaf instead of rice as a pilaf. Millet is a power food, guys. Look it up. Hop on your cell phone real quick and just Google, why is millet good for me? You're not going to believe it. Like, loaded with antioxidants. It is really an absolute gem. Millet is that little seed that is in birdseed. So millet, it can be a tough sell to your family because someone at the table is going to say, did you just cook birdseed? Because that's what millet is. But it is delicious, and it definitely has a mouthfeel of, say, fine couscous. So if you love like a tabbouleh salad, this would be a very similar texture to that. But here's her take on it, and I just think it's absolutely gorge. Look at that. So her millet pilaf salad, and then she did a barbecued tofu. That's what that is on top. But as I said, if you want to go vegan and vegetarian, I think it's nice to do that a night or two a week, even if you're not a vegan or vegetarian. And I have a lot of incidentally vegan, vegetarian nights in my life, believe me, because animal protein 7 days a week just doesn't fly for me. Sometimes I just haven't planned. I don't have it on hand. So it's nice to make that change. But you also could very easily convert that barbecued tofu to just a piece of grilled barbecue fish or chicken, something like that. So I'm going to read you this little thing about macro bowls real quick. And she says, it's no surprise that I have a weakness for macro plates. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. It's allergy crazy here right now. These dishes, the cornerstone of macrobiotic cookery, are focused on the idea of macronutrient balance, and they feature a balanced ratio of beans, grains, and vegetables. My version takes some liberties. I haven't been able to perfect the traditional sea vegetable salad. We're talking about it's obviously a sea veg salad here. But it does feature the signature kombucha squash kicked up with a miso glaze. And there's also a salty miso-based dressing. And you'll see I took some notes on this page, but here's her beautiful miso glazed tofu bowl. And there is just one ingredient after another in here that is absolutely essential to a healthy body. From seaweed to tofu to dark leafy greens. I mean, power grains, ancient grains, here it is. This is all it in a nutshell. And then the miso, the fermented soy paste, of course, has its benefits as well. It's like if she just took a bunch of, let's just write down healthy words and then throw them into a bowl. And here it is. So, but I think this is also a good example. I don't want to show you the recipe, but it's broken down. First, you've got to cook the rice that goes in this. Then you need to cook the squash that goes in this. Then you need to prepare the dressing that dresses it. And then you're going to assemble it all with the remaining fresh ingredients. What I was alluding to at the beginning of this about sort of taking some prep time for this sort of food, if I just cook up rice in the rice cooker, brown rice in the rice cooker, and, you know, I don't know what, throw in some scrambled egg and then add some sauteed spinach, it just ends up being kind of a heap of depressing. It doesn't really work. What these types of recipes, these bowls really require you to do is some prep. You need to get your proteins sort of seasoned and cooked and off to the side. You need to get your greens chopped and cleaned and ready to go. You need to get things like sweet potatoes roasted and quinoa cooked. You know, you've got to get some of that stuff going. So as I said, when we move to the end of this video, I'll spend the last 7 or so minutes telling you a little bit about how I do a Sunday afternoon meal prep to get myself geared up for a week of quick assembly of this type of plate. But it does take, to me, this is not a come home after work in the middle of the week and start from zero. This type of thing, I would have wanted to have that rice already cooked and done, or at least in the rice cooker while I was gone all day. I would have had the squash absolutely already done, and then I can just rewarm it if I want it warm. The dressing would have been made days ago and in a mason jar ready for me to shake up and just add to, right? So these aren't make them as you need them type meals. They're assemble them as you need them once you've done the prep. To me, that's how that works. There's so many beautiful photos in here that I hardly know where to begin, but I'm going to just throw you a couple more. I know I already showed you a breakfast sweet potato, but now I'm going to show you a dinner baked potato because I think that we forget sometimes how nutritional a basic Idaho baked potato is. Feel free to Google that. Nutritional value of Idaho baked potatoes. Potatoes are outrageously nutritious. Do you know that they can serve as your entire source for vitamin D in a day? They're really loaded with a lot of vitamins and a lot of nutrients. They get a bad rap in the United States because we're all so carb terrified here. And then of course we did like the loaded baked potato. If you're going to fill this thing up with you know, sauteed ground beef and cheddar cheese and sour cream and fat upon fat upon fat, well, bacon, that's not exactly the potato we're talking about here. But the potato by itself, you know, the great potato famine of Ireland, you understand, ironically, in part why it was so devastating is because once Irish farmers figured out to plant potatoes, the potato itself was so nutrient dense that once that went into the ground and started to become a main resource, the population of Ireland quadrupled in something like a single generation or 2 generations, quadrupled, right? Because it was such a sustainable food source for the human body, absolutely loaded with everything we need. So now you have 4 times as many people living in Ireland who are relying almost exclusively on that potato as their entire diet. From birth to death, they live on potatoes all the time. And then guess what happens? There's a blight. And the blight wipes out every single potato crop across the country. And now we have 4 times as many people as we've ever had in this country and nothing to feed them because the only resource we had that got us to this population number is gone. So, but at the core of it, there was good news there. At the core of it, the first thing that happened is we discovered that the potato essentially is life-sustaining. So, and if you've ever seen The Martian, I'll let you digest that one. So the good old potato, but what we top it with, I love that she's topping it with like broccoli rabe and white beans. Man, I am a bean fanatic. I love every kind of bean there is. Cans of beans, love. And I love adding them to things, sprinkling white beans on. One of my favorite salads is a white bean salad. So I think that's a really fun idea for it. And of course, if you're going to go vegan, beans will be really important for you because they are such a high protein source. That is a vegetarian protein source. I'll pop a couple more photos up here for you to see in her beautiful, look at this page. It doesn't even matter. It's roasted kombucha squash salad, but who cares? Like, it's just gorgeous. It could be anything. Those could be sweet potatoes. This would be a really fun sheet pan supper. If you get your grains done in your rice cooker, which is how I do mine, whatever the grain is, I do it in the rice cooker. And then you did a little roasting afternoon, like I like to do. You would put your squash, your sweet potato, your red onions, your peppers, everything goes on a sheet tray and goes in at a 425 to 450 degree oven. Roast it up, scrape it all off, and throw it in a Tupperware in the fridge. And now you have it all week to top with things like this. Because I am not vegan nor vegetarian, I will say this type of bowl in this presentation is absolutely gorgeous, and the way that I would finish it at home is I would top it with a fried egg. So we love that that protein source in our house. So there's that. But Power Plates, I just think it's such a beautiful book. I feel like she does such a great job of describing the recipes for you. There's photographs with every recipe as far as I can tell. She takes you on power plates for breakfast. I love the concept of like a power packed pancake. I just think that's so fun. And so she takes you there. Moroccan dishes. There is a section on soups. Look at this West African peanut stew. This is really beautiful too. Look at that. So absolutely gorgeous. Really pretty. I was just thinking yesterday, you know, it's August. Well, it's the end of July here. It's August next week. So I haven't done like a big pot of soup or stew in months, and I'm really missing it. I'm going to have to just crank the AC low and make it happen. Fake winter at my house. You know, I do that sometimes. A curried Jamaican stew. You know that's delish. Spicy and delicious. Curried Jamaican stew. So there it is, Power Plates. Really nice, right? I think it's Gena Hamshaw. Did I say that right? Hamshaw, I did. Power Plates. So what I will say, all right, that's Cookbook Corner, Power Plates. I hope you love it. I love it. I think it's a great book. I highly recommend it. Don't be scared away by vegan, vegetarian. That doesn't matter. You do what you need to do with whatever proteins and dairy you want to add to your world. You do what you need to do with keeping them out. If you were looking for inspiration in the world of moving towards more vegetarian and more vegan, this is inspiring. This makes it just feel very relatable, very doable. Okay? What I will say is that then inspired me to teach a class called Power Bowls. And if you are watching this on YouTube, hey, nice to see you and thanks for being here. My YouTube videos are free. It's just up on our channel, and I hope you just enjoy them. We do offer the podcasts for sale on Gumroad, and I think they're $4.99. And if you buy the video, then what you get are printable recipes, PDFs that you can print out. So for my Gumroad subscribers, that's what you'll be getting is the Power Bowl class that I wrote this summer for classes here at A Chef's Cooking Studio. And the thing that I talked about in this class is that this type of cooking requires prep. I feel like, one, you need to do a little shopping. You need to go pick up those fresh ingredients. You need to go pick up the kale, and you need to go pick up the quinoa. Or have them delivered, or however you do. But you kind of got to get yourself a little list together. And those types of ingredients take a little preparation in themselves. Usually, kale comes in pretty sandy, so I need to, the way that I wash my kale is that I just tear it apart from its main core and put it into the sink with lots of cool water, and I smudge it all around and then leave it alone for a few minutes and then come back in and just gently lift it out, and all that sand will fall down to the bottom. And then I can use that same sink of water to do my romaine or anything else that's sandy. What have I been getting a hold of lately that is so sandy? Cilantro lately. When I buy cilantro, it is coated in sand. So rinse in that, big thing of water, leave it alone, and then scoop out with your fingers and let all that sand just fall down to the bottom of the sink. So a little prep there. If you have a salad spinner, spin it through to get some of the water out. Otherwise, just pat it down with some paper towel. People always ask me, how do you keep your produce? I don't. I eat it. The truth is, it's not going to last terribly long. I will say this, in my experience, when I buy organic produce, the shelf life is 3 times that of non-organic. I'm just going to say that right out. When I buy organic, even just organic romaine hearts, they will last 10 days in my refrigerator, stored properly, which just means in the container they came in the produce bin. If I buy non-organic, I got 4 to 6 days, maybe. So 4, something like that. Organics do tend, in my experience, to keep a lot longer. So a little bit of prep required. And so what I like to do, I mentioned I would talk about this. What I like to do on Sunday, and I don't do this every Sunday, I do this about every other, is try to get a base of some building blocks, macros, but we'll just call them building blocks, that are going to set me up for quick meals the rest of the week. What I don't like to do on Sunday is make Wednesday night's dinner. I'm not interested in cooking for 8 hours on Sunday and portioning everything out into ready-to-go Tupperwares with, here's my protein, here's my veg, here's my starch, ready to go microwave anytime later in the week. I know a lot of people do that. It's just not my style. I think in part I'm a control freak and I don't want to commit today to Thursday's dinner. Can we just take it day by day? So what I'm more interested in is firing up my oven at a really good high temp, 425 or 450, and getting things ready to go in and roast at that temperature. So I will do some peeled shrimp and a couple of salmon fillets. And I like chicken thighs, but if you like chicken breasts, that's fine. Sweet potatoes, I leave whole. Some things like squash, I go ahead and do a large dice on. Grill up some onions, some onions while I'm at it, right? Can you see the concept here? So the oven's on 425. In my world, it's usually 450. I'm not scared of high heat. And then I can just throw sheet pans of whatever in, and as they're done, pull them out. The shrimp come out very, very quickly. The sweet potatoes take much longer. The chicken, somewhere in between. So just as stuff goes in, things come out, make room for, etc. And then I keep Tupperwares of roasted proteins that are ready to eat, roasted vegetables that are ready to eat, roasted aromatics like onions and garlic that are just ready to power up, flavor things up. I will go ahead and make a salad dressing like in a mason jar that I can just shake up and keep all week long. I'm not too picky about that. If this week's salad dressing has kind of a Greek feel to it, then every salad this week is going to be mildly Greek. So if I know that when I go to the grocery store, I'm also probably going to pick up some feta cheese and some fresh oregano, right? Make sure I have some banana peppers on hand to slice up and put over whatever I'm doing later in the week too. So that's my concept of Sunday prep, and I do it about every other week. I turn the oven on a roasting temperature, and I roast up a bunch of stuff and have it good to go. Now, my chicken is not going to last until Friday, right, or Sunday. So I will go ahead and pre-portion up some of it into Ziploc bags and just drop them in the freezer. Then come Thursday, if I know I want to do a power bowl for dinner on Saturday, I can pull that chicken out of the freezer and throw it in the fridge, and it'll thaw throughout the day, Friday night, and by Saturday, be ready for me to do a quick reheat on it or just chop it up and serve it cold on my salad. But like I said, about every other week. And, roasting time, temperature, I do 450, and then I just season everything similarly, a little salt, pepper, a little bit of good olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, and just go to town. Let things just roast up. And then I just change up what those non-plant-based proteins are. The other thing that I like to do on Sunday is get a couple of grains cooked up in the rice cooker. So grain number 1 for me is usually legume would be like lentils. I don't buy lentils pre-cooked. I cook them myself. The other thing I like to do is something like a quinoa or a barley or a farro. Change that up week to week. Rice, whatever. Get that rice cooker going and get a couple of your basic grains done. Those do keep in the fridge until Friday. But if I realize by Wednesday, we're not going to get to these, we've got other plans coming up, we're not even going to eat at home again until Sunday, then I can go ahead and take some of those and freeze them as well. They do freeze. Pastas, no, but the grains definitely do. And I like to do a big batch of lentils and just freeze up little tubs of them so they're just very easy to microwave and add to whatever I need to add them to. So there's that. Okay. that is Cookbook Corner for the month of August. Gumroad subscribers, thank you so much for being with us for this journey. I hope you enjoy the concept of the Cookbook Corner, and I will continue to do more. And for those who are only interested in that content, have a beautiful day. I hope you go make something Power Plate delicious for yourself. Try a Power Bowl. Gumroad subscribers, your handout PDF is my Power Bowl handout. And if nothing else, it's a lot of great salad dressings for you to try at home too. So, but I said that I would mention a little bit about this kind of diet journey that I've been on. I'm going to do a really short little window into this, and I'll leave it up to you. If you're interested in hearing more about this, I'm happy to record a podcast on it. I had a friend recently tell me that they would like for me to. What I will say is that I am 51 years old, and that I turned 51 in June, and at the end of February of 2022, I was about 12 pounds lighter than I am now, and I was really, really sick. I was dealing with a lot of chronic pain. I was dealing with extreme fatigue, constant fatigue, and I was also dealing with migraine headaches for the first time consistently in my adult life. I have had them before, but not with this level of consistency. And we're talking a headache that would just be absolutely piercing, come in from here to here, and just be absolutely piercing and last longer than 2.5 to 3.5 days. They would have been debilitating, except that anyone who knows me knows that I don't debilitate easily. I am an absolute workaholic, and so it just doesn't matter what I feel like. I get myself here and I do my job. So it was really rough times. And around February 28th, it was the end of February, I was down again. It was a day off. I should have been home enjoying myself. And it was like I was tolerating so much pain to get through the week that then when I would get a day off, it just was a 2-day absolute crash. And there I was again, and just miserable. And I did my best to rehydrate myself, to try to get some calories in, to try to troubleshoot what was going on. And I had been at that point on a very restrictive, calorie restrictive diet for about, right at a year, exactly a year. It was about exactly 12 months. And I had hit this goal weight, and maintained it for most of that year. And I was just sick as a dog. And I woke up in the middle of the night, a couple days into that just absolute crash at the end of February. And I got up and I went into my little ladies' lounge, and I just started a journal that began with the words nourishment. And I started writing down, I got on my phone and just Googled, what is the most nourishing food? Millet was one of the ones that came up. And it sent me down this rabbit hole, and I just started writing down food words that support a healthy body. So sweet potatoes, legumes, under legumes specifically, lentils, carrots, watermelon. I looked up foods. We had decided, we already knew at that point that I was running pretty borderline anemic, if not fully so. And so I looked up vegetarian sources of iron. We all know we can get iron out of steak, but I can't eat steak 7 days a week. I just don't have the time for it. And I don't know that that's a healthy answer either. So vegetarian sources of iron, lentils were right up there. Watermelon was right up there. Apricots were right up there. So I started writing down all these foods, right, that I needed to find a way to get into my mouth every week. So some of them every day, but throughout a 7-day window, could I get 3 sweet potatoes in me? Throughout a 7-day window, could I get 3 avocados in me? Throughout a 7-day window, could I get a cup of apricots into me? Aha. This really flipped the game for me. All of a sudden, for the first time, really, in my entire adult life, I really started to focus on what I absolutely needed to be eating versus what I wasn't allowed to eat. And I am happy to talk more about that because it's a pretty deep conversation, to be honest with you. I have shared here many times concepts about diet in this country and how we tend to spin it on its head and sort of get it backwards. I've shared with my clients here that I am not a fan of elimination diets. I never have been, in the sense that I don't believe in zero carbs or, zero fat. That zero fat diet fad of the 90s has done more damage to us collectively, health-wise in this country than almost anything else we've done. So you see what I mean? This is a pretty deep dive, and I'll be happy to talk more about some of that in another podcast. If you're interested in that, all I need are some comments to fire me up and tell me to go for it. But what I was doing wasn't eliminating any specific food groups. It was macro balanced. I was doing 40% carbs to 40% protein to 20% fat, but it was very calorie restrictive. I was keeping myself at 1,200, maybe even some days less than that, because I'm a workaholic and I skip, it happens, I miss meals, but I was trying to keep myself at about 1,200 calories a day. What I will tell you is that after that 2 a.m. wake up and journaling session, I made a deal with myself that I was going to find ways to eat specific foods all week long. And I called my GP and I set up blood work for 90 days after that date. I wanted to see what happens to this body if I stopped with the 1,200 calorie a day restrictive eating and stayed away from calorie count, just got away from it and focused on power plates, focused on these nutritionally balanced foods and finding ways to get them into my mouth every week. So I'm going to tell you two parts of that. Part one, I gained 15 pounds. So, I just want to put that out there. I gained 15 pounds. So there's that. Part two, I have never felt better in my entire adult life than I feel sitting right here with my 15 pounds. The headaches were gone almost immediately. I mean, they were gone within a 2-week window of this change. And I've never had another migraine since. They're gone. And energy-wise, everything balanced out. It took some time, maybe 3 weeks, something like that, before it really occurred to me that I haven't had a crash, not one. Some chronic pain that I was dealing with disappeared. And I'd been dealing with nerve damage in my shoulder that radiates up, and that pain disappeared. So for women who are over 50, I will just share that I was, premenopausal issues disappeared. It completely resolved itself. And then I went and got my blood work. I got my lab tests, and I had a long talk with my doctor the day that we ordered the tests. And the first thing he asked me when I got there is, of course, I got on the scale and he looked at my numbers and he said, "Are you happy with this weight? Are you okay with this weight?" And I said, "Are you? I mean, you're the doctor." And he said, "You are, according to BMI chart, you are a healthy weight." I said, "Well, I'm just going to take that as a yes." Where I am in my head about my weight is pretty deep personal stuff, and I'm happy to share that in another podcast too. But according to the BMI chart, I'm where I'm supposed to be. So where was I when I was 15 pounds less than this? I don't know. Maybe borderline underweight. Who knows? It wasn't good, I can tell you that. So I'm good with where I am now. And so we did our blood work, and I explained to him that this was really important to me, this lab work. I wanted him to make sure that the labs covered all supplements, anything a supplement would cover. So I wanted him to run iron levels, calcium levels, vitamin D levels, vitamin B12 levels. I wanted readings on everything. So we did a huge extensive panel. I had to do a fasting before, and it was a long fast, and that was brutal. We did the blood work, we get the results back. And what I will tell you is that these are the words that my doctor said to me that day: exemplary, picture of perfect health. And he said that I have no patients that are your age whom I don't need to advise to add some supplements in orally. You are the first one to come across my threshold in my practice, that at your age, I am not recommending that you need to take through a pill anything. Not a vitamin D, not calcium, not B12, not a vitamin C pill, not a multivitamin. Your levels are that good. Then he asked me what supplement brand I take. And it was really fun to say to him, zero supplements, my friend. I don't take pills. I am eating everything that is getting me where I need to be. But in order to do that, in order to eat those sweet potatoes and those avocados and get those lentils in and get those legumes in and get that tofu in and get that animal protein in on occasion, I had to accept that in order to do that, the number of calories it would take daily was not a level. that was going to keep me at 15 pounds below where I am now. It doesn't necessarily have to keep me at 15 above where I was then. I probably could get maybe in the 5 to 6 off, but I had to make a choice about which was more important to me. And I think it's pretty clear what I chose. And what I would like to share with you at this point, and we'll wrap it up, is that your diet consists of what you put in your mouth, not what you say no to. And so be the one who chooses what you put in your mouth and what you choose to put in your body. You absolutely get to choose to put a glazed donut into this body on occasion. But on the day that the glazed donut goes in, let's also choose a kale salad for dinner that night, right? Let's just balance it out a little bit. When you make a food choice, what is it doing for you? How is it supporting you? Is this food supporting me, or is this food taking away from me? Consider that, and the empowerment, for me at least, has been incredibly freeing, like tear generating freeing, to have that power to say, I'm making this choice to eat this because I am low on potassium today, and this is how I'm going to kick it back up. I need B12 for tomorrow's energy output, and here's how I'm going to eat that. And it's a really fun way to approach the concept of diet, the diet being what it's supposed to be, what we eat, not what we don't eat. Okay, so there's my little spiel on that. Listen, Cookbook Corner, Power Plates, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next month with another Cookbook Corner. And if you have any questions for me, throw them into the comments. If you'd like to hear more about this journey I have gone through with weight and diet, and some of the mental resources that I've used for that as well, for self-esteem and otherwise, I'd be happy to share that journey. Just let me know it's something you're interested in, and I'll record it. Okay, kids, I hope you guys are having a delicious week, a healthy week, and go try some Power Plates. And if you're in Asheville, stop into Malaprops and have a great time. All right, talk to you guys soon.